That was my thinking.
Welcome, everybody, to the December 17th, 2024 meeting of the Tompkins County Legislature. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Unless you're using it.
Can we have the roll call of members, please?
Mike Lane.
Here.
Mr. Mezzi may be joining us later this evening. Veronica Pillar.
Here.
Lee Shirtliff.
Here.
Mike Sigler.
Here.
Shauna Black.
Here.
Travis Brooks.
Here.
Randy Brown.
Here.
Amanda Champion. Susan Curry.
Here.
Deborah Dawson.
Here.
Rich John.
Here.
Ann Corman.
Here.
Dan Klein.
Here. 13 members present. We do have a quorum. If Greg Mezzi joins us later on, he will be permitted to vote based on the guidelines of our remote attendance policy. Next up is a proclamation which will be read by New York State Association of Counties Board member Shauna Black.
Thank you, Dan. So this is a proclamation recognizing NYSAC's upcoming 100-year anniversary, and I'll just read a few of the whereases and then the resolved. Whereas, over the past century, NYSAC has played an instrumental role in promoting the interests of county governments at the state and federal level, ensuring that the voices of local governments are heard and their needs addressed. And whereas NYSAC has provided invaluable resources and training to county officials, empowering them with the knowledge and tools necessary to deliver efficient and effective services to the residents of New York State. And then hopping on to the resolved that the Tompkins County Legislature proclaims, recognizes, and designates 2025 as the centennial year of the New York State Association of Counties.
Years is a long time for any organization to exist.
Dan?
Yes, Rich.
Just for members of the public, the New York State Association of Counties is obviously an organization that represents all the counties in the state, but it is, I believe, just a remarkably effective organization in terms of running educational programs for legislators and also advocating on behalf of our community to New York State and the federal government. So, just
thank you for that context, Rich. All right, I would like to reorder some of the business, and the first thing I'd like to do is move up the individual member filed resolution to the very next item on the agenda, if that's acceptable to the membership. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. So, let's see, Amanda, do you want to go ahead and move that?
Sure, thank you. I will move the resolution appropriating funds from Tompkins County Natural Infrastructure Capital Program for the acquisition of the town of Ithaca's Sage Preserve.
Thank you, and Ann Corman seconds. We'll get into in just a moment. I just want to mention that Rod Howe is here, the supervisor of the town of Ithaca. In case we have any questions, we can ask him to come to the mic. Amanda, did you want to say anything else?
Just that I was not here 2 weeks ago when this was brought up, and I understand there was quite a bit of discussion about it, and I would like to see us pass this, so I'm bringing it up again.
Very good. Discussion. Randy Brown.
Yes, I don't remember if this was made clear or not, but do we know the total purchase price of this land? Is the town of Ithaca putting any money forward, or is it just the county?
The total purchase price is approximately $600,000. And Rod, maybe you should come up and tell the real story.
Good evening. Is this on? Yes. It's $676,000. And the town of Ithaca would certainly be putting money in. We're waiting with bated breath to hear about our CFA application, which would provide some additional funds. We did receive $50,000 from the Park Foundation. We're certainly hoping for the Natural Infrastructure Program monies. So it's coming from a variety of sources.
How much is the actual town of Ithaca?
At this point, it depends on how much we get from the CFA, but we've committed $50,000 so far.
Thank you.
Any other questions while I'm here?
Deborah?
I don't have a question. I want to thank Amanda for bringing this forward again, and I want to thank Rod for being here. I felt really badly at our last meeting because I had expressed some concerns about preserving land in areas where we might be building badly needed housing. But that, of course, is the prerogative of your town board and your planning board. I certainly wasn't prepared for my colleagues voting this down, which I think is something we shouldn't be doing. Because I think it's up to our Department of Planning and Sustainability to administer these funds. So I sincerely hope that this time it passes.
Mike Sigler.
I have two questions. One for the chair. Is Greg going to be here?
Greg has said he's going to try to be here.
Okay. And number two is for Rod. I mean, I guess the main question that most people had was why not housing there? I mean, you have water there, you have sewer there, it's right next to a neighborhood. And I think that was the main question that people had.
So we are definitely a pro-housing community. We've gone through the steps to be identified with that. We actually are seeing a very big development happening on South Hill. It's got our traditional neighborhood development. It would be right next to this property. When it's fully built out, it would be thousands of units. So we like this balance of development next to open space for people to enjoy. So, you know, we're a believer that we actually try to be careful where infrastructure goes sometimes, because there's some places we don't want development, again, because of this balance between housing development and recreation. So there is, down the road, I mean, it would be a multi-year build-out, would be several units, sort of a village-like setting at South Hill.
The other concern people had was the person that owns the land now has bought this property as a buffer property, and it certainly seems as if the county will be taking that property off the tax rolls. That person still gets that benefit of the buffer. It just seems like an outsized benefit for one taxpayer.
Yeah, we actually don't view it that way. That's not how we framed it. We saw this as land that would, it's the only, there's not a preserve on South Hill that the town has. We have some on West Hill and East Hill. And we have an extensive trail network. So this would enable us to build on that trail network that would benefit city residents, county residents, and town residents. So we didn't see it the way that you're framing it at all.
Shauna.
Thank you. I actually voted for it and then the second time voted against it. And I had a nice conversation with Rod today, and he explained to me the geographic location, the idea that Southworks is going to bring in a lot of housing, the fact that there are some trails in South Hill, but to really have some green space and have a place where people can go and hike and, really spend time outside, to me makes sense. He also mentioned the fact that it sounds like we're not paying what would be market rate.
Right.
And so, it's nice to know there isn't a whole lot of land there isn't the town of Ithaca, but this is kind of right on the edge. And I think this could provide, kind of a sacred space for people that live in that area where it's just so congested and you don't have a lot of green space. So I will support it this time around. Thanks, Rod, for the explanation.
Randy.
Two more questions. This is an area that is some pretty nice homes, Chase Farms, very expensive homes up there. And is it 135 acres roughly, something like that?
Correct.
So it's about 5,000 an acre that you're paying for this?
Yeah, I can't do the math that quickly, but whatever the 676,000 totals out.
So are the homes that are planned to be built there, are they for sale homes?
At the traditional neighborhood development, it would be mixed. The goal would be single-family homes, apartments, patio homes. So the idea is it really would be kind of a village with some small businesses in the mix as well. Again, this is, in the future, but we've already did on the groundwork to allow for that traditional neighborhood development.
Thank you.
Susan?
As someone who lives on South Hill and represents that area, I think this would be very good for us to pass this. I think the green space is important, and people certainly make use of any green space that is there because there is not very much. So I very much support this.
Any other discussion? Okay, can we have a vote, please?
Mike Lane.
Yes.
Veronica Pillar.
Yes.
Lee Shirtliff.
No.
Mike Sigler.
No.
Shauna Black. Travis Brooks.
Yes.
Randy Brown.
Yes.
Amanda Champion.
Yes.
Susan Curry.
Yes.
Deborah Dawson.
Yes.
Rich John.
Yes.
Ann Corman.
Yes.
Dan Klein.
Yes. Motion carries 11-2. Thank you, everybody. Rod, thank you for coming in. Appreciate it.
Thanks,
All right.
Rod.
Deborah?
So I just have a procedural question.
Yes.
Unless and until Mr. Mezzi joins us remotely, why are we doing roll call votes?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Good one. Okay, thank you. We are now back to the regular order of the agenda, and we are up to privilege of the floor. The privilege of the floor is for members of the public to come and speak and to the legislature for up to 3 minutes. If you're interested in doing that, please go to the back of the room, grab one of these blue cards, fill it out, bring it up, and we'll get you in. I already have a number of them already. I'm going to read the rules for speaking under privilege of the floor. Number one, I agree to a 3-minute time limit. I agree not to raise my voice. I agree not to use lewd, obscene, profane, slanderous, or libelous language, or speak or act in a manner that would tend to incite a breach of the peace. I agree not to speak about county personnel matters. Personnel matters include comments about the job performance of named county employees other than elected officials. After 3 minutes, I agree to leave the microphone and yield the floor. Transferring time to another person is not permitted. I agree to be courteous and not make comments, gestures, outbursts, or other disruptions while other members of the public or legislators are speaking. I agree that if I cause a disruption and I'm asked to leave, I will leave the chambers. So, first up is Laura Watkins.
Hi, my name is Laura Watkins. I am 43 years old. I have been a Tompkins County resident my whole entire life. I have my first time becoming homeless. I have been homeless since November 21st of this year. They have me housed in the Cold Blue Shelter. They are being paid $4,080 a month to house me there that has no shower. None. I have not had a shower since Thanksgiving Day when I was removed from a hotel at 5 a.m. in the morning, knowing that I am on parole, and my parole statement states I cannot leave upon 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. in the morning. The hotel had me removed at 7 a.m. Knowing that I am on parole, I am still housed at the Cold Blue Shelter with no good hygienical way of cleaning myself, being able to take my medication on time, and with food, not knowing if I'm going to be able to be warm during the day when I'm out from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. at night. And it's hard to understand how Tompkins County has gone from a great place to live for families and to have more children born in this community to having more buildings built and people trying to save buildings when you have a whole homeless community that are trying to work, trying to find a job, trying to find a home for our families and ourselves that are means to be able to be met by us working. If we can't take a reasonable shower, how are we able to go get an apartment? How are we able to go and get a job? I've been denied 3 times a house because of my body odor. I've asked 211, I've asked Tompkins County Department of Social Services, I've asked Human Coalition, how am I able to get a shower? They said go up to YMCA and pay the fee. I have no income. I have no way to get up there. This is dehumanizing me and putting my mental health down further. Knowing that the Department of Social Services is paying these guys $4,080 a month, which I have in paperwork right here states $4,080 a month to housing. Where's that money going? We have outhouses that we had to take bird baths in. I don't know if anybody has ever had a bird bath here before, but it's not really nice with cold water. And now I'm sick. And I can't go to a doctor because DSS has not told me if I have Fidelis or if I have Medicaid. This is dehumanizing the homeless population. And to keep putting more money into more buildings and trying to save buildings that people want to save because they put $80 million or how umpteen millions of dollars into these buildings. Why not save a building and put the homeless people in it? When we want a house, we want a job, we want to make our lives better. But it just seems like everybody wants to make Tompkins County better, but the only way to make Tompkins County better is to make the citizens better by helping us. That's all I ask.
Next up is Rose.
Hi, I'm going to be a little quicker than that, but I feel like that speaks volumes, and I'm here to amplify that. I'm a teacher in this district. I have lost my job because of the tax budget cuts. The budget cuts that came around and said that art and music and everything that's important to children is no longer worth paying for. I disagree. I think that's what makes children strong, expressive. Expressiveness is important. Being a kid is important. Playing is important. We cannot keep removing funding from the things that stand people up. I love my kids. I'm a mother. I have 3 in this district. I want to move out of this district. I moved here from LA. I chose this city out of anywhere in the country I could live because it was so good for families. And I watched this beautiful city crumble. I'm watching my friends become homeless who are teachers. I'm homeless. Recently, as of the last couple weeks, because I can no longer afford my rent or my $500 heating bill. And all the I work in services. All of my friends are social workers. I have behavioral neurodivergent background in therapy. Everyone I talk to is a therapist or a teacher or is bettering this community for the last several years of my life. I am integrated in the care of this community very deeply. I have supported many, many people already doing good things, and we are in a lack of funding, and I don't know why. I'd like us all to ask ourselves that question, because I know this town is full of good people who want to help. I'm here to speak for the kids and the families who are becoming labeled as a criminal. I've been told I'm a druggie because I lost weight, because I have to scooter myself to my job as the PE teacher showing up to serve everyone's kids in the community. I'm scrambling why. I should be more supported. Families should be more supported. Kids should be more supported with money. And I agree, it shouldn't be going to saving empty buildings that we built because we are bad business planners and didn't think about the long term, okay? We cannot have too much luxury design. Per capita, you gotta think about these ratios and think about the actual people living here versus the come and goes of people who are here for educational purposes and then leave. Who's rooted here? Families. Are they supported? I digress, thank you.
Amanda Kirsch-Gessner.
Merry Christmas, everybody. It was beautiful to see you all celebrating and eating food together. We brought some pizza if there wasn't enough to go around. 9 days until Christmas, and all through the county, the people were stirring because Travis Frost might have to declare bankruptcy on a very small portion of his bounty. $4,080 is an emergency stipend for an individual. There's units in Travis's building that are less than $4,000, and I know that they would serve the need. Now, I don't know what we have to do to put homeless people in an empty building, but I assure you the moving costs wouldn't be that great. I don't know how much we'd have to hustle before Christmas to give people access to showers who need them, but by all accounts, I've heard there's like 3 people who live in that building, and most of them have the resources to be relocated, and it would probably cost a lot less than dealing with what we're dealing with, because what we're dealing with is a nightmare before Christmas. Merry Christmas. Yeah, I mean, I feel like they did a really good job articulating. These are 2 people I've met since the shelter closed. And if you went to Loaves and Fishes ever, if you went to DSS ever, you would meet these people also. There were other people who were going to come, but they were having really big emotional moments, understandably, because they've been unhoused in a place without a shower for a month now. And I understand it's an imposition, and I'm not sure what the details are with your desire to avoid liability by outsourcing it to a nonprofit who's deeply invested in homelessness as a model. But people talk about housing first, and most of the people I've been communicating with would do very well with housing, right? Yeah, maybe some folks need supportive services, but we have those. So I'm not sure where the coordination's happening or the disconnect. You know, there's lots of places where I'm noticing huge budgetary gaps, or I see resources being applied, but I can't prove any results. But tax abatements, certainly against school taxes. I mean, that woman lost her job because of the budget cuts, and the IDA's policies could absolutely impact those results in a very meaningful way. We know this. I've offered all of you coffee. You're all elected, all of the elected people who sit down to meet with me. I do it on your schedule. You tell me when you're available, and I make myself available. Why? Because you're elected to represent and serve these people. $4,080. Do you know what I could do with that much money to help people? I'm just one individual, okay? There's at least 20 folks staying over there. There were at least 38 being housed under Code Blue at the last meeting I was at. I'm sure it's probably upwards of 50 plus at this point. We can do better. I know we can do better. Please, can we do better?
Zach Wynn.
Good evening. A second person has been found guilty in the kidnapping and murder of Thomas Rath. A third trial is yet to occur. Rath was kidnapped from Jungle 2 behind Lowe's. I've sent you articles about this conviction and screenshots of a local Facebook page that monitors scanner traffic showing that there are still people living in Jungle 2. The city of Ithaca has determined to allow this encampment to continue to exist for reasons I cannot fathom. I again request the county cite the city for the environmental damage occurring in Jungle 2 and instigate another cleanup similar to what occurred at Jungle 1. The city will not act until someone forces their hand. I have also sent you a link to an editorial by outreach worker Richard Rivera about the ongoing crisis at the Asteri building. I have also sent you an article I wrote about a recent pair of arrests at the Asteri where drugs and an illegal firearm were seized, with credit due to the gun-involved violence elimination program. This article includes details about another fatal overdose at the Asteri, in addition to a non-fatal one on the same day. It appears that one of the homeless people who was moved in the Asteri building was allowing a Mr. Ramal Abdullah to deal drugs out of his apartment. I would be interested to know how many people have died at the Asteri since it opened. What is interesting about Mr. Abdullah is that he was arrested in January at the Art House with a large amount of heroin and methamphetamine packaged for sale, along with a few $1,000s in cash. I have since learned that Mr. Abdullah had been free since his January arrest due to the fact that none of his crimes were bail eligible, leaving him free to continue to deal drugs up until last week. On December 3rd, a child was born at the Asteri and suffered complications. The child's mother was unable to receive an IV as she was an intravenous drug user. Due to medical confidentiality, it is impossible to know if the child survived. On December 4th, after the previous meeting of the legislature, a pair of articles about the Asteri were published by Tompkins Weekly and the Cornell Daily Sun. Between Mr. Rivera's editorial, their articles by the Daily Sun and Tompkins Weekly, my photographs, video, and the article I have written, I hope you have a better understanding about what is going on in the building. These issues were forewarned about before the building opened and were already present when the ribbon cutting occurred just a few months ago. Many public officials were present at the ribbon cutting, including some of the very legislators in this room, in addition to State Senator Leah Webb, Assemblyperson Anna Kellis, and even Lieutenant Governor Delgado. These are the people you should be contacting for assistance with the crisis at the Esteri. The same public officials who were at the ribbon cutting, patting themselves on the back, should be leading the charge to solve the crisis before more people die. It is clear that whatever services currently available at the Esteri are inadequate, and resources greater than what can be provided by the city and county are called for to bring the situation under control. The citation issued by the county health department to the Esteri owner, Vecino Group, is a start to addressing this crisis, but there's much more to be done. With the resignation of Frank Kruppa from his position as Commissioner of Whole Health, an opportunity exists for new leadership to confront the public health crisis that is the Esteri, and along with it, homelessness, with drug addiction and mental illness at its core. May I briefly finish?
Yes, please.
Please contact State Senator Webb, Assemblyperson Kellis, Lieutenant Governor Delgado, and Governor Hochul herself for aid. Consider a state of emergency declaration to unleash the necessary resources that this situation requires. The activity at Esteri is now the subject of multiple news articles and is a widely known crisis that will inevitably affect the viability of the new conference center in the long term. The current approach is not working. Please do whatever is within your authority to try and get this crisis under control. Thank you.
Shari Corthice.
Hi, guys. I'm Sherry Cortice. I live in Ithaca. Speaking as a citizen, thanks everybody that's spoken. I moved here in 2012, and the change that I've seen is, it breaks my heart. I pray for our city every night. I pray for our humanity. I first moved here, I volunteered at Loaves and Fishes, was involved in all the volunteer community, and I knew everybody, and I still do. But what I've seen, and I've spoken from 2013 until you shut us down for COVID, we were here. We were here speaking against the tax abatement projects, City Center, the Marriott Hotel that got a huge tax abatement, Herald Square, 323 LLC, Cayuga Mine, the Cargill Cayuga Mine, Hilton Garden Inn, Library Place, Hilton Canopy Hotel, Ithaca Art House. The convention center was approved at your Tuesday meeting before we locked down for COVID. We all said, don't do this. Why do we need another convention center? Because Ithaca, we've given tax abatements to hotels because they were going to have a convention center. And then we built this hotel, we locked down for COVID, and then they proceeded to tear down the north side apartments. People that had lived there 50 years. The airport expansion, we spoke out again. We said, no, the environmental, what you guys did to the environment was criminal. We did it for Cornell. You didn't pay attention to us. You've not paid attention to the community. I just think you should listen to us. From March 20, when you locked us down to we couldn't even speak. It had to be on Zoom meetings. We did Reimagining Ithaca. We did everything online. Do you know how many people were left out of that? I do. All of these people were not able to speak. None of my friends, and so many are dead now. And I'm sad. And in 2018, the authority's budget office gave you guys a report that said you had to you needed to appoint a school board member to that board, and you didn't do it. You're talking about it now, and I highly encourage you to do it because that's why she has lost her job, because we're losing so much money in the school tax base. The county gets dinged a tiny bit. The city, about twice that. The poor schools. And you guys want to say this is an educated community. If you're educated, then put the money towards it. And the thing you read at the beginning, that's against our First Amendment rights. I'm sorry, but I'm going to stand on that. My father fought for this country in Vietnam. He just died in June. And what we're doing all over the country does not end well.
Last blue card I have is for Lisa Lincoln. If there's anybody else that wanted to speak tonight, please go to the back of the room, grab a blue card, and bring it on up.
phone go dead is that you have to reopen it. So I'm just going to do that. I spoke to you all
Lisa, if you could get
about-
closer to the microphone, please.
Oh, yeah. I spoke to you all about Amanda David not too long ago, and I thought I'd catch you up on what happened yesterday. I was at the Carolyn Courthouse in support of her, and we were treated to a show of the judge's sense of humor as he pushed out any meaningful action of the court until late January. I need not, I am sure, tell you about Amanda. You surely remember the story. Did you know that her neighbor is not only free because of Judge Cassidy, but that her neighbor Whitaker was given his gun back? One of Amanda's supporters and friends said Amanda is living in terror. That Amanda had called her during the administrative hearing yesterday to inquire if Whitaker was still there, because if she was, then she could go out and feed the goats. Late January, after the sugar and alcohol-fueled holidays, is many nightmares away for the David family. Whitaker, a known drinker, has escalated from verbal tirades to property crimes against the David family. I feel that if the David family comes to physical harm, which is statistically just a short step away from the property crimes and the invective, it will be upon the county and town court system, the police and the DA, who have for the past 3 years dismissed complaints about Whitaker and gaslighted Amanda. Thank you very much.
Next up is municipal officials' privilege of the floor. And we have Patrick Keel here from the City of Ithaca, Common Council. Welcome, Patrick.
Hello, excuse me. Hello, everybody. I actually do not have anything significant to report to you today. I did want to just mention that I have not heard any updates on the DRI proposal, other than it seems like it went well, but I have no more information than that. And I just double-checked our agenda from the first meeting of the month, and there was nothing, I think, that is of particular note to this body. So if there are any questions about the ongoings of the city, I can take those, but other than that, happy holidays.
Any questions for Patrick? Mike Sigler.
I was just kind of wondering where you are with the dredging of the inlet.
I have no updates on the dredging of the inlet. I know that there's been conversations with the DEC which have gone on for many years, but other than that, I have no information for you.
Any other questions for Patrick? Thank you for coming tonight.
Of course, it's lovely to see you all.
Hope to see you in 2025.
Absolutely, I'm sure you will.
I don't think there's any other municipal officials in the room, is that correct? Okay, next up is legislator privilege of the floor. Randy.
Yeah, first I actually visited the Asteria building a week ago Sunday, and was Amanda there, and my brother and I donated a dresser to a young man who was living there, and I'd been there once, but I hadn't gone upstairs, but this time I went upstairs, and one thing I noticed immediately is that they have a key fob to open the door across from Sinopolis, and it didn't work, so the guy just grabbed the doors and yanked them open. So anybody could do that. There was dog feces on the ground. Somebody had urinated in the elevator. There were people arguing. This is Sunday morning, by the way. Arguing in the hallways with each other, and the place was not kept up at all. It wasn't a pretty sight, and I don't know who's in charge of managing that, but there should be somebody on site doing more of that. It's not right. So, but I attended on Saturday. The Enfield Volunteer Fire Department had their annual awards and recognition and dinner. Ann Corman was there. Michael Sitley was there, Under Sheriff Olin was there. They had a nice dinner, and they talked about all the training they'd gone through, and it was, hundreds of hours of training. They had, Enfield Volunteer Fire Department really got a great fire department. They have 4 brand-new members who are young. They have a really strong group. Michael Stitley said it was one of the cleanest fire departments he's seen. Obviously, a lot of pride there for that one. So I just want to really thank the county people for going there and recognizing what they're doing. And it was a nice meal as well. So I just want to share that.
Any other legislative privilege of the floor? Deborah.
Yeah, this is probably going to be less of a statement and more of a series of questions based on what we heard from members of the public tonight. Who are we paying $4,080 a month to? And what are we paying them for? And what are we getting for it? Because that seems pretty ridiculous to me. And then I guess, you know, we keep hearing these horror stories about Asteri. And my understanding is that Asteri was a recipient of IDA incentives. Is that correct, Rich?
Yes.
Okay. And I seem to recall that part of that incentive structure was based on a representation that the low income or homeless housing was going to be accompanied by services provided by the developer. And it seems that that's not happened. So I intend to raise questions about this at next month's IDA meeting. I would have done it this month, except that we had a fairly robust agenda. You know, the story, I don't know if you all saw the story in Tompkins Weekly about the number of police calls that originate at Asteri and a couple of the other supposed low-income housing developments that we have. I mean, I don't know where the line is between government's responsibility and individual agency of people who live in these places. But apparently, we need to be looking into this and doing better than we are. You know, I also seem to recall, Dan, the Community Recovery Fund, we actually awarded money, was it to Vicino?
It was. It funded a position. That person has left that position as of a few weeks ago, so it's currently vacant.
So, you know, I think giving money isn't enough to solve the problems that we have. I certainly hope that we'll do better in the year to come. But so far, every program, public and private, seems to be failing, and I really don't know how we move forward, but I think we need to be making more of an effort. Thanks.
Travis.
Deb, thank you for your questions. I do want to thank the community for coming, and I encourage more members of the community to come and speak, more providers, more advocates to come and share these stories. We need to hear them. You know, often the voices of folks you don't see, sometimes you forget and they just don't matter. And we have some people that you hear about, they're coming to share their stories. And we do need to ask questions, and we do need to push and figure out what's happening and how to do better. You know, it's sad that we did have opportunities to have showers, but we blew it. And we have to be accountable for that. And I just encourage you all to keep coming and sharing, because some of this is crazy, and in a community like this, we should be doing way better.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I appreciate everybody coming that spoke to us. It's come other meetings and other conversations that we've had in the community to keep us more informed. And I know this is often the tip of the iceberg, so we realize that. And so we do appreciate that. I wanted to also say that all of these things that people have said are valid. And I believe you, and I know that. I just want to also add to that, I have heard other stories where people are happy to have a door to lock a place, who were maybe previously not having a home. So, but with it, with this particular development, there are a lot of issues, and we are having discussions. What can we do? What can agencies do? How can we hold people accountable? Do we need to do more? So we are hearing you. So I just want to say thank you for that. And just lastly, I wanted to say also for the Enfield Fire Department, I haven't been to other banquets where they're honoring folks who are volunteering, but I know it takes a lot of hours. And so I really do appreciate younger people starting to get more involved, because I think there was a number of years, at least for Enfield and probably across the county, I would imagine, where we weren't getting in as many younger people. So I'm really glad that Enfield's able to do that, because they are our future. Thank you.
Veronica.
Thank you. Thanks everyone who came and spoke. I'll try not to reiterate, and I don't have anything super smart to say, but I want to appreciate you all being here, especially Laura and Rose, but everyone sharing your own stories and your own observations. I guess a thought I'm having, inspired partly by this and partly I read part of Richard Rivera's op-ed that Zach mentioned, not all of it, because I'm also, it's right now and I'm listening to things. And it seems like we could gain a lot collectively as a community or it seems like we lose a lot by the communication structures we have in place. Like the public comment is very limited, and like, yes, please keep coming and sharing your stories and the things you know. But this is not a super great venue for conversation among anyone other than like us legislators sitting here. And even then it's limited. And often I think we sitting at this table are like quite a few layers of relationships away, except for maybe the odd individual that we know, from the people who are most affected by whatever issue we're talking about, conditions at Asteri, homelessness in general, the Code Blue shelter. So we're hearing in a very limited fashion from people who, sometimes from maybe like staff who worked with staff who worked with the people who are affected that we're never going to meet. And that's not a great way to come up with solutions about anything. Richard's article says a lot about how the outreach workers, not always, often not officially recognized at all, are doing a lot of the good work at Asteri. And I think what sticks out to me is talking about how the relationships there are what's important, like individual people knowing individual people and being familiar with them, instead of, we can talk abstractly here. So I don't have a proposal, but I guess I want to acknowledge that something I've wanted in my time on the legislature is to improve this like inside outside government communication. I don't think I've done anything about it, but the need is glaring. The other day, last week, Charlene Holmes said something along the lines of that the systems and structures and policies and procedures we have are so often hurting human beings, and those of us with institutional power need to be accountable for that and work to change that. And I will keep reminding myself of that, I guess. Thanks.
Shauna.
As we started to put the shelter together, and even as recently as the legislators going for a tour at the shelter before it was opened, I think the biggest concern I had was the lack of showers. Personally, whenever I get home from work, it's late at night, the one thing I do to calm down and to wind down from the day is I take a hot bath or a hot shower. And I think for many people, it helps you feel clean. It helps you go to sleep for some people. And whenever I hear someone come in and talk about not being able to take a shower, she's right. You know, walking into a job interview or trying to get a job and you come in and you don't feel good, you don't look good, you stink, that really is setting someone up for failure. And we have to do better. Whenever I asked about showers, you know, I will say that I'm not sure it was prioritized, and I definitely think we have to do better. I know that there was a conversation about having a shower truck located perhaps in front of DSS or around DSS. I think we were in talks with Salvation Army if they were going to open up their showers. I think Reach Medical has one shower that they were willing to offer. But we also have to realize that whenever people are staying in our shelters, they don't always have access to all of the information that we have access to. And so if there are showers in our community, we need to make sure that there's a list and that people know of what their options are. If we have to pay $5 for someone to take a shower at the Y so that they feel better, I think we need to find the cash somewhere, guys. So.
Sorry, what?
Please, you've agreed to no outbursts. Thank you.
And so I think we have to listen to what's being told to us. This really did seem like a no-brainer, and it sounds like things have fallen through the cracks. So we've got to do better.
Any other, Deborah?
Yeah, I just want to address that. I want to be sure that we're not being overly critical of staff, because I think members of the public don't understand. St. John's pulled out on us with very little advance notice, and I think admin and DSS had to really scramble to make some kind of arrangement for Code Blue. I've seen posts on Facebook. People didn't know any of this. They just thought that we up and decided we were going to move people into that bank building for spits and giggles. And that is not what happened. I do understand we didn't do this as well as we should have. And I hope that we learn from that and move forward in a better direction. But I realize DSS doesn't do everything perfectly. Nobody does. But I think people are trying to do the best they can as they see it. And if we can contribute a better viewpoint, we should do that.
Rich.
Yeah, a lot going on. Just a few different comments. In regard to the IDA does not abate existing taxes. What happens is the taxes on the improvement, the new value is phased in over time. There is no cut to anybody's taxes, including the schools. And in fact, if you look at all of the IDA projects over the many years, $71 million a year are attributable to taxes or to IDA projects. $71 million of tax revenue comes from those projects every year. It's essential to our community that we do have a growth mindset, that we do want economic development because it funds everything else, including things like our shelter. And I won't repeat the comments, but I do agree. I think we stood this up in a real hurry. There's more work to do, and I certainly would like to see that woman be able to take a shower. I did want to mention to one of the guests who was speaking about the issue out in the town of Caroline that you might wish to watch the YouTube video of the Public Safety Committee from December 10th. I was going to talk about it in the report for the Public Safety Committee, but I wanted you to make sure I mentioned something while I think you're still here. The sheriff came and the DA came, and they both presented on what they have done over the last couple of years in regard to this situation. And even if you disagree, I think there's useful information there. I'll stop there. Thanks.
Any other legislator privilege of the floor? Mike Sigler.
I'm just thinking we can actually do something tonight to actually alleviate this problem. I mean, we can allocate, say, $10,000 to either buy bus passes and
showers.
And well, not showers, but fee up at to pay for the fee up at the YMCA, or we could even, and then with the caveat that we will look at, maybe renting a portable shower unit like they do at construction sites. I mean, we have the ability to do that tonight. We don't actually have to wait to do that.
Do we have a gifting issue?
Why would that be a gifting issue?
Okay, stand by. We will not drop this subject yet. Deborah?
Yeah, I just wanted to, I think that that's a fine idea. I just think that shouldn't we check with the Y before we do this?
Sure. I mean, the Y, public space. I mean, this is what they offer. I don't.
Okay, well.
I mean, I understand your point. It is, and it's taken point.
So Lisa or Maury, do you want to weigh in on this conversation?
On the gifting issue, maybe?
Any and all of it. Lisa?
I can state, I know the Human Services Coalition in the last week or so put together an updated list of resources for individuals, unhoused individuals, resources, including shower resources at the Y. So in speaking to Mike's concern that they be contacted, I know that they are already on the list for $5, the cost is $5. Whether or not there are already existing mechanisms to cover the cost of, for funding those showers and bus passes, it was going to be, I was going to respond that I would be following up with DSS to see if those resources exist. I see that Kit is with us, and I don't want to put her on the spot, but that's something that I could follow up on, or if additional resources would be needed locally from the legislature. I can't speak to the gifting aspect of it.
Yeah, I'll address the gifting issue in a couple of ways. One, the bus passes, transportation assistance is a typical benefit that DSS provides to applicants and recipients of its benefits. And the other, so I don't think the bus passes would be a gift, and I don't think that paying the cost of the shower at the Y would be a gift, because again, it's part of what is ordinarily provided as part of a shelter, just as we wouldn't consider a night's lodging, which has some value at the Code Blue shelter, to be a gift. The benefit of providing access to a shower wouldn't be a gift, or transportation to get to a shower wouldn't be a gift. It would be part of the benefit that the individual receives.
Kit, did you want to weigh in?
Sure. So just a reminder to everybody, we did strongly consider showers. We wanted to provide showers. That was something that DSS and administration both considered. One of the challenges is that the building that we're using this year really couldn't accommodate that additional truck. So whether or not there's a way to do that in a more with more extreme modification and more cost, I don't know. That might be something we would have to talk to facilities about. But that was considered, and that was really the barrier. In terms of providing bus passes and the cost of the showers through DSS. So that may be a cost that we could incur through the Code Blue programming. One of the challenges this year is that both due to the limited resources that we had around where we could set up the Code Blue shelter and what we were trying to do very quickly, we have spent more money typically than we would. So the issue is right now we don't have a full way to look at an accounting of exactly where we're at with our funding because there's so much happening so quickly. But as we get into the season, we will continue to try to take that accounting, take a look at it, we could certainly, if the legislature decides, we could certainly provide people with bus passes and pay for that fee for the showers. And it would just be a matter of if we end up over our Code Blue allocation at the end of the season, that would be a local cost. It's just difficult. It's difficult for me to know where we're at exactly with with all the current claiming around Code Blue.
I just want to take a quick turn. If the legislature does take some action tonight to request or authorize or allocate or whatever it's going to be, is there the administrative capacity in the existing program to determine who's going to get bus passes, get the bus passes, figure out a way to pay for the showers? Is that something that you think the existing infrastructure can accommodate? Staffing infrastructure.
So I'm going to say, Dan, we would do everything in our power to try to make that possible. I can't, without having a conversation, for instance, with the YMCA and talking about, how would we make sure that we were communicating with them and that bus passes were, showers were approved for certain people. We would have to do a bit of coordinating, but we would do everything in our power to make that possible.
Okay. Thank you. I've got Deborah and then Shauna.
Yeah, you totally derailed my train of thought.
Sorry.
Yeah.
You want to come back to? We can come back to you.
I've recalled it. Yeah, I mean, if we run out of Code Blue money from the state, we're going to have to make up the difference out of county funds anyway. Mm-hmm. I think the money that it would take for bus passes and showers is probably de minimis compared to the overall cost of the Code Blue program. So I don't have a problem if Mike wants to make a motion that we commit $10,000 from our contingent fund, for example, for this purpose for a period of time until Kit can get her hands around exactly how much Code Blue is costing us this year and how much money we're going to need. I should think the shelter, the folks that we hired for the Code Blue shelter could take care of handing out the bus passes that would be necessary, and an agreement with the Y could just be that they keep track of how many of our clients show up to take a shower and we pay them after we know what we owe. I don't think it should not be terribly staff intensive to do those two things.
Shauna.
I'll just add on to that. I think an important piece of this as well, if we decide to move forward, is to make sure that people that are staying at the shelter actually know that this benefit's available. And so either posters in DSS and posters at the shelter, posters around town where people are hanging out. This might also be an answer to people that are living outside and that are camping, because they also need these services. So thank you all for considering this. I think it's kind of cool that we can do stuff on the fly and hear people's issues and do something to help people. So,
Mike Sigler.
So I guess I would like to make that motion that we, I liked your idea. I mean, 10,000, that's what I had in my head too. I mean, it's a good start. We start with 10,000 out of contingency fund. We buy bus passes, and obviously our team that's running this can do that. The bus passes and the daily membership, which gets them into the Y. I would like to, so that'll be the motion. I'll just put that on the floor first and see if I get a second.
Susan seconds.
I just want to say on it, though, I would like really close contact with the YMCA. If there's any problem with this, we need to know about that,
right.
That day. We don't sit on it for a week like in stew in the juice there. Let us know that there's a problem, because that is they're putting themselves out to help us, I think, in that situation. So,
Randy.
Yes, on a call today, there were quite a few legislators on a call talking about youth homelessness, and we learned that the Learning Web actually does have a shower there, and they actually allow people to wash clothes as well. It's for people 24 and under, but I wanted to make sure people are aware of that as well.
Thank you. Ann.
Thank you for bringing that up, Randy, because that was one of the things I was going to note, that there are other places, a couple other places, and so I would like this to not preclude us also looking at, you know, if somebody from DSS or working on this issue brings to us and say, well, for $5,000, they could put another shower down there, or for $5,000 or $10,000, Catholic Charities or Salvation Army could give us access or put in a shower for us, where it would be maybe easier to get to because it would be on the flats. For, I'm not saying everybody that's homeless is on the flats, but for a lot of people it would be easier. So I just want to say yes to this, and let's keep looking. Thank you.
Mike Lane.
My concern with Mike's suggestion here is I'd want to make sure that our money wasn't being used to replace money that might be coming in from the state, sort of the way Kip was talking about. It seems to me that it would be better to do as Lisa has suggested and pay this at the end and use it out of the Code Blue money first.
Kit or Lisa, can you speak to that point? And then we'll continue.
I'll speak to it, and I was going to suggest something similar to be able to provide an update as we're further along in 2025 with the Code Blue spending, and to wait until that point to bring something forward only if needed, because there may be the funding within the Code Blue allocation from the state to be able to cover this. And we will continue to look at other options that may be more convenient.
We've got a bunch of people in the queue. I just want to clarify what you just said, Lisa. You're suggesting we could go ahead and authorize this program, we'll call it tonight, but not worry about the funding quite yet. Is that what you're suggesting?
Yeah.
Okay. I've got Lee and then Mike Sigler.
I think Ann just touched on where I was headed with it, was just if the motion would leave some flexibility for the parties administering the program to look at a variety of options. I can't believe we don't have resources closer than busing people to the village of Lansing to take a shower, but taking some money from contingency to ensure that a solution is there in the immediate offing. I don't oppose that. I'm very much in favor of it, but I hope your wording for the resolution is broad enough that we can look at a range of options in a quick succession.
Okay.
Okay, we're back to Mike Sigler.
Lisa answered the question.
Okay, Deborah.
Yeah, I guess I don't much care whether we appropriate the $10,000 tonight or not, as long as it does not hold up the implementation of the bus passes and the shower access that people need.
Mike Sigler, back to you. You consider a slightly different resolution or not?
Well, now that Deb said that, there's an old engineering phrase, you know, you can have it fast, good, or cheap. You pick two, basically. And
Fast and good.
And that's where we're at, I think, fast and good. And if that costs the county $10,000 that we're not going to get back in Code Blue, then that's what it is. I think we will get it back. I'm not that concerned. So, because I just think this is obviously a part of what we need to do, and I think the state will see it that way too. I could be wrong, but I think we are. We're at fast and good, and I think we need to spend the $10,000 out of contingency to do that.
Okay, so you're sticking with the motion you made. Okay.
What we got.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor to spend $10,000 from contingency to develop a bus pass and shower program. Is that acceptable wording?
Yes, and there'll be a line in there too that says, you know, we will look at all options for those showers. I mean, but the why is a good start, but we will look at other options as Lee related just a few moments ago.
Do you feel like you have enough wording of this, what this motion is? Give us a moment, please. I know you missed part of that last, yeah.
You can do it, Katrina.
You want to try again?
Sure.
Come out of contingency.
Sorry.
$10,000.
I'll just do the resolution, the resolves. The resolved is that the Tompkins County Legislature will set aside $10,000 in contingency fund to pay for a bus pass and
Shower access.
Shower what?
Access.
Access program. The shower access will, it's resolved that we will look at various opportunities for shower access throughout the county, including the YMCA. And resolved that we will stay in close contact with the YMCA and other shower providers for any difficulties in administering this program.
Okay, I have it.
Thank you. I just want to be clear, 2024 contingent fund, I believe, right? Just checking.
Yes, please.
Okay. All right, further discussion. Mike Lane.
Sound like an ogre, but I can't support this when I think that there could be money coming from Code Blue to begin with. I have no problem with the concept, but I sort of think what I'm hearing from staff is that we're already going to try to do this.
We don't know.
Any other discussion?
Well, then.
Ann.
I'm not a great financial wizard. I will admit that. We have some people here who are. But I'm wondering, I don't see how this, if us allocating this necessarily precludes us with the, accepting the financing from Code Blue's resources, right? This would be a yes, and if there's additional money needed, right?
Does that sound correct, Lisa?
Yeah.
Or do we need to add that in there?
It would be better, I think, to specify if you're saying that the first payer would be Code Blue and this would be a true contingency. If that's what the intention is.
We put that as a whereas?
If that's not the intention,
It's
then.
Mike's choice.
I would say no. I think what Annie is suggesting, if I'm wrong, correct me, is that the Code Blue money would almost backfill it. Say we need the money, it's in the contingency, we spend it, and then the Code Blue money comes through, then sure, we can put it back.
This is backfilling, I was thinking this is backfilling the Code Blue. Code Blue is first, like the first payer.
Yeah, but we don't have that money yet, so. I kind of want the money on the table so we can do this.
We do have the money.
We do have the money. We have the allocation.
But let's not shoot ourselves in the foot to not be able to use Code Blue money if we get that from the state. And how would we need to put that in there? So what I'm asking administration or finances then.
I think administration has already stated what their preference is, that it would be Code Blue first, contingent
That's the
backfill.
first payer. So so it doesn't sound like that's friendly, right?
So that doesn't slow our roll at all?
No.
Right.
Okay, then that's friendly, sure.
Okay, is there anyone who objects to that change in the resolution? Can you stand by, please? Thank you. Did you hear that change?
For God's sake.
Code Blue first, backfill. Good.
I don't know.
Further discussion? I see some confusion. I want to make sure everyone knows what we're about to vote on.
Yes.
Does everyone know what we're about to vote on? Very good. Okay, so show of hands. All in favor? Any opposed? That motion is unanimous. All right. We are still in privilege of the floor. Are there any other legislative privilege of the floor? Randy.
I forgot that there was one other individual at the Enfield Volunteer Fire Department. Dave McKenna was there, and he wanted to know when the building was going to be built. So I just wanted to share.
The new center of government. New center of government.
Legislative privilege of the floor, last call. All right. Thank you, everybody. I have one chair's appointment tonight to the Workforce Development Board, Paula Younger, business representative. And then I have a chair's report. I have a number of items. It's not too long. They're all county government related, so bear with me. I attended a performance of the Ithaca Ballet's Nutcracker at the State Theater last week for their school field trip performance. There were over 500 school children there from Beverly J. Martin School and Enfield Elementary Schools, and from the Dryden, Trumansburg, South Seneca, and Watkins Glen school districts. Tompkins County contributes to the State Theater through our hotel room tax. I attended the retirement walkout ceremony a few weeks ago for Ray Bunce, captain of the Corrections Division for the Tompkins County Sheriff's Office. Captain Bunce was employed in the Sheriff's Office for more than 30 years and was promoted to captain more than a decade ago. His walkout ceremony was attended by dozens of sworn officers from the Sheriff's Department, the New York State Police, the Ithaca City Police Department, and by dozens of civilians as well. And here's another fact about Ray Bunce. He was just elected to the Tioga County Legislature. So congratulations, Ray. Thank you for your past service to Tompkins County and for your future service to Tioga County. And maybe we will see you in Albany. I attended the Tompkins County Cooperative Extension annual meeting last week along with legislator Randy Brown. It is clear that the problems that plague Tompkins County Cooperative Extension are in the past and that staff morale there seems high. Tompkins County allocates a considerable amount of money to Cooperative Extension. Every December, the New York Coalition for Open Government puts together a naughty and nice list for government transparency. The Coalition for Open Government is an all-volunteer, nonpartisan, not-for-profit 501c3 organization. And here is what they had to say about us. Quote, Tompkins County made our nice list for your efforts in proactively having departments post data online. We also love the fact that you live stream your meetings and allow public comments to occur remotely, unquote. Vice Chair Shauna Black will be attending their press conference on Thursday on behalf of Tompkins County. I attended the groundbreaking ceremony for the first phase of the Farmers Market update. This is a multi-million-dollar project. Tompkins County contributed $100,000 as a tourism capital grant through our hotel tax revenue. The first phase will see the parking lot of the Farmers Market completely redone in a more user-friendly layout and should be done in late spring. Also last week, legislators Amanda Champion, Rich John, Ann Corman, Greg Mezzi, Veronica Pillar, myself, several staff members from the county's planning department, and a number of Cornell University staff went on a tour of some of the Cornell facilities. We toured the Lake Source Cooling Facility, the combined heat and power plant, and also learned about Cornell's hydroelectric plant. It was an educational, enjoyable trip and a good way to get to know our Cornell colleagues a little better. And then finally, our outgoing communications director, Dominic Recchio, and Rob Henry, our media production assistant, put together this little book called Portraits from Election Day in Tompkins County, New York. It has photos and quotes from poll workers and from our elections commissioners. Elections operations are a bipartisan effort. And if there's only one thing I ever say that might influence anyone's opinion, it is that I hope you understand that elections are fair and that we should all trust in them. And that is my report tonight. Thank you. Next up, we have a special presentation tonight, although I'm told not to call it a presentation. We have Bridget Nugent here to talk about the County Strategic Operations Plan 2024 status update. Bridget Nugent, Deputy County Administrator.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
So yes, this is less of a presentation and more of an opportunity for discussion. At last week's Government Operations Committee meeting, I had the pleasure of sharing what is also included in your packet. It is our first update, which we hope to do quarterly moving into the future, as to our progress and the objectives as outlined in the Strategic Operations Plan. Just to sort of reinforce the same introduction I gave at Government Operations Committee, as you know, we adopted the Strategic Operations Plan, which is a 5-year plan, this past summer. And in the 6 months since that time, we've worked with the consultant and individual departments to outline a specific implementation plan for those objectives under each goal priority area that they are responsible for. Those implementation plans resulted in a series of smaller action items that fed into the objectives, and each action item was tied with a specific time frame. So at this point, county administration has developed a reporting mechanism through which all county departments are reporting on their specific progress as it relates to each time-limited action item. So we've put together this specific template. We worked with our consultant to make sure all of the branding and images were similar. And like I said at Government Operations Committee, this is really our first attempt at this. The point is to make sure you all as legislators have regular information on how we are doing in regards to the progress related to our strategic plan. So this is more an opportunity for you. Hopefully you've had a chance to take a look at that. Got some great feedback and questions at Government Operations Committee, but wanted to make sure the legislature at large had an opportunity to ask any questions or provide any comments as we continue to iterate the process of reporting to you all. The final thing I'll say before I open it up for questions or comments is that on your desks, or at one point, maybe they're still not there, we had created a one-pager where each goal, priority area, and objectives was tied to a specific legislative committee. Departments have been alerted that you may be asking within those committees for more specific information on the objectives as outlined in the plan, so that it is an environment in which you can do that. So that's all I have to say.
Questions or comments for Bridget? Deborah?
Yeah, thank you, Bridget. The only comment I have, and I shared it with you in advance, and I'll share it with my colleagues, is on packet page 10, under climate change mitigation and resiliency. Item 4 was implement actions to reduce flooding and improve habitat corridors by protecting critical natural lands, maintaining well-designed roads and bridges, and increasing awareness of these issues within the community. I appreciate the fact that certain action items were identified by administration and probably DPS in advance, and you've accomplished those. But I do think overall that objective is one that's going to be ongoing, and rather than to consider that we've completed our work, we just need to accept that it's in process and it will be ongoing.
Yes, that's a great distinction, and we will make that adjustment. That is accurate.
Other questions or comments for Bridget? Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you all very much.
You know where to find her if you have more questions. Next up are reports, starting with report by County Administrator Lisa Holmes.
I have a few items to update the legislature on tonight. I'll be brief, but for starters, I just wanted to state to you and to the public that comments and feedback, particularly around sheltering, are taken very seriously among staff and discussed and try to find ways to address needs and come up with solutions. The showering piece is one piece in particular that has gone through several different iterations, and we will continue to work on it. I appreciate the comments and the desire to do so. So we will continue to work on it and implement immediately. Our search process is continuing for both the budget director and communications director. We're making as much progress as possible with both of these searches prior to the holidays, and we'll continue to keep you updated on both of those areas. I also wanted to take a moment to acknowledge Dr. Ken Clark, who will be leaving his post at the Office of Human Rights at the end of this year. He served the county for 7 years and brought stability, stature, and scholarship to that department. We'll be hosting a reception in his honor this Thursday, December 19th at the Scott Heyman Conference Room, the old jail, and friends and colleagues are welcome to stop by to wish him well. Our county administration staff is working with departments to put together the 2024 year in review highlight reel for a presentation early in 2025, and along with starting to work on 2025 work plans. And among the items we know are on the 2025 work plan include moving ahead with capital projects, including the Center of Government and shelter development, working with a consultant on the countywide minimum wage, and that's work that began or was prompted in legislature discussions in 2024, exploring options for potential new structuring of the Office of Human Rights, and then once the sheltering situation is more stabilized, looking at a Citizens Advisory Committee for the Department of Social Services, among many other items on the work plan. I also wanted to state that Corsa Akumfi will be beginning in the role of county administrator on January 6th, and I will be on hand to advise him throughout the month of January. But this is the last legislature meeting where I'll be in this seat. So I just want to say thank you. I've appreciated the opportunity to have served the county in many roles, including this one, and I want to thank you and all of the staff and great leaders that have made an impact in this county every day. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Lisa.
So just to repeat it for everyone's sake, this is Lisa's last legislature meeting, but it's not the last of Lisa. We've got her through the end of January. Any questions or comments for Lisa? Rich.
Lisa, thank you for your service, and thank you for mentioning Reverend Clark. He really stepped in at a time when we needed help, and he stood up and did that, and it's really appreciated. I wish him all good things.
Anything else for the county administrator? Hey, next up is County Attorney Maury Josephson.
Thank you. Pleased to report a positive development. Our office received, and the credit for this goes to Holly Mosier, a favorable decision from the Appellate Division 3rd Department in an ATUPA case. This involved a penalty that was assessed in October of 2022. And the decision came down after the last legislature meeting and before today, upholding that fine against a series of challenges that illustrate just how challenging ATUPA enforcement and local cannabis enforcement will be if we pursue it, but also shows that it's possible and that as we do these things, we can make them stick. So it's a very positive result from the 3rd Department involving sale of a tobacco vaping product to an underage individual. I was also reminded by the proclamation given concerning the Association of Counties. I had the opportunity to attend on December 9th the County Attorneys Association winter meeting, and in addition to gathering a lot of useful information about things we're working on and questions that legislators often ask, such as about the 4-year versus 3-year, the even year election rule. It was great to see, a group of attorneys that were as dedicated, passionate, and polished as they are, can hold up against anything that you see in the private sector. And it's a privilege to be among such a group. And some of the best presentations were made by county attorneys and staff from upstate counties. So it was really nice to see.
Thank you. Questions or comments for Maury? Okay, thank you. Next up, Director of Finance, Lori Scarrett.
Thank you. I just wanted to remind you that we have started our preliminary year-end audit this week. Auditors have been on site and will be on site this week, both in our office in finance and also at DSS. And that's all I have for tonight.
Questions or comments for Lori? Lori, can you repeat what audit that is?
This is the preliminary work for our year-end audit for 2024.
Okay. This is the thing that takes through like May or June to finish?
Yes.
This is the first, wow.
This is the first
I didn't
step
realize
of
we
it.
started the year before. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, thank you. Anything else for Lori? All right, thanks. Are there any resolutions to be added to or withdrawn from the agenda? Shauna?
Thank you. I would like to add Resolution CC, ID 12981, resolution expressing concerns regarding the rollout of the New York State Department of Health Early Intervention Hub. And I so move.
Is there a second? Veronica seconds. We need 10 votes to get it on. Is there any discussion about adding it to the agenda? That's all we're discussing at this point. Okay, let's go ahead and have a vote then. All in favor of adding it to the agenda? Any opposed? That is unanimous. The motion carries. Thank you. Next up is the consent agenda. Consent agenda, resolutions and appointed to be voted on as a group unless any member of the legislature requests that a resolution or appointment be instead included separately and individually as part of the business of standing or special committees. We have a very long list tonight of resolutions and appointments, so go ahead and get yourself a snack if you want. Let's do the resolutions first. Resolution A, approval of updated amended bylaws, Criminal Justice Alternatives to Incarceration Advisory Board, ID 12872. Resolution B, authorization for the Tompkins County Department of Emergency Response to enter into a multi-year agreement with Motorola Solutions Incorporated for annual radio communication system support, ID 12956. From the Health and Human Services Committee, Resolution C, request to amend Tompkins County Opioid Settlement Fund Contract, OSFC, Finger Lakes Reuse Incorporated, ID 12897.
So sorry.
Resolution D, authorization for Tompkins County Whole Health Department to enter into a multi-year agreement with Camino Technologies Incorporated for permanent management software, ID 12971. From the Housing and Economic Development Committee, Resolution E, Tourism Program 2024 Budget Adjustment, ID 12961. From the Government Operations Committee, Resolution F, to amend Resolution Number 2023-245 of November 21st, 2023, determination and certification of county clerk's allowance, annual expenses for administering mortgage tax, ID 12915. Resolution G, resolution to update the Administrative Policy Manual, Policy 01-45, Language Access and Language Assistance, ID 12920. Resolution H is in the red folder, so, yep, okay, thank you. From the Planning, Energy, and Environmental Quality Committee, Resolution I, authorization of lease agreement with Tompkins County Soil and Water Conservation District for cold storage building space at the Tompkins County Public Works Facility, ID 12908. Resolution J, approval of amended bylaws, Strategic Tourism and Planning Board, ID STPB.
Off.
Resolution K, final payment to Matco Electric Corporation, 2023 Infrastructure Upgrade Project, Electrical Construction, ID number 12944. Resolution L, final payment to Streeter Associates Incorporated, 2023 Infrastructure Upgrade Project, General Construction, ID number 12945. Resolution M, final payment to Kimball Incorporated 2023 Infrastructure Upgrade Project, Mechanical Construction, ID 12946. Resolution N, final payment to Kimball Incorporated 2023 Infrastructure Upgrade Project, Plumbing Construction, ID number 12947. From the Budget, Capital, and Personnel Committee, Resolution O, resolution to update the Administrative Policy Manual, Policy 02-47, Lactation Accommodations, ID number 12849. Resolution P, authorization for the Tompkins County Department of Human Resources to enter into a multi-year agreement with Triad Group, LLC, for workers' compensation claims administration, ID 12957. Resolution Q, town and city budgets and printing of tax rates, ID 12943. And Resolution R, approving completed tax rolls and directing the executing and delivery of warrants, ID 12942. For appointments.
No, appointments are being done after the consent.
All of them. Okay, thank you, Katrina. So Katrina just informed me that the advisory board appointments will be the next separate item. So we're just voting on the consent agenda resolutions. And we shall vote. All in favor, please raise your hand.
I need motions.
Oh, yes. Yes, we do. Sorry. Somebody moved the consent agenda. Randy moves, Veronica seconds. Let's now vote. All in favor? Any opposed? That is unanimous. Thank you. Now the advisory board appointments. Okay, again, this is a long list. From the Public Safety Committee to the Criminal Justice Alternatives to Incarceration Board, Sharon Brown, at-large member. And Dina Bodner, Department of Social Services representative. From the Planning, Energy, and Environmental Quality Committee to the Tompkins County Planning Advisory Board, Basel Khoury, at-large member. And to the Water Resources Council, Eileen O'Connor, environmental representative, and Elaine Quaroni, municipal government representative. From the Health and Human Services Committee to the Board of Health, Frank Cantone, at-large member. And to the Environmental Management Council, Siobhan Hull, City of Ithaca representative. To the Environmental Management Council, Ingrid Zabel, Town of Ithaca representation. From the Budget, Capital, and Personnel Committee to the Workforce Diversity and Inclusion Committee, Rachel E. Graham, staff member. From the Government Operations Committee to the Ethics Advisory Board, Sharon Sulimowitz, at-large member. And to the Tompkins County Historical Commission, Susan Holland, Historical Commissioner. From the Planning, Energy, and Environmental Quality Committee to the Soil and Water Conservation District Board of Directors, George Trutt Jr., Grange member. To the Water Resources Council, Liz Kreitinger, Watershed Organization. Holly Payne, at-large member, and Frank Proto, at-large member. To the Environmental Management Council, Susan Riley, at-large member, Brad Will, at-large member, and Kate Darfler, at-large member. And from the Health and Human Services Committee to the Office for the Aging Advisory Board, Carolyn Bayers, at-large member, Patricia Stam, at-large member, William Lesser, at-large member, and to the Board of Health, Melissa Dundale, physician representative. And, thank you. No, thank you. Also to the Board of Health, Andrea De Lima, physician representative. To the Human Rights Commission, Lady Ajayi, commissioner. To the Community Mental Health Services Board, Developmental Disabilities Subcommittee, Wala Maharam Horan, Mental Health Board member representative. From the Facilities and Infrastructure Committee to the Air Service Board, Kate Supron, Cornell University member. Okay, is there somebody that would like to move the appointments? Rich moves, Deborah seconds. Discussion. Okay, let's have a vote then. All in favor? All opposed? Okay, I believe Sean stepped out of the room. I think it's, you got that, it's 11 to 1, 12 to 1.
12 to, well, 11 to 1 and 1 away.
Okay. The motion carries. Thank you. We are up to standing and special committees. Workforce Diversity and Inclusion Committee, Veronica Pillar, Chair.
Thank you. Workforce Diversity and Inclusion Committee met last week on Monday, I think. It was our last meeting of the year. We heard some folks report back from experiences at the Facing Race conference back in November, which 8 or so county employees went to, and a few dozen folks from Tompkins County overall. And that was pretty powerful and generative. And then we heard a bunch of updates from our Chief Equity and Diversity Officer and Team JEDI, the Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion internal staff team, and continued our conversation about what the Workforce Diversity and Inclusion Committee itself should look like, scope and structure and goal-wise in 2025. And we will continue, some of us discussing that between this meeting and the next one. And I said at that meeting, but since both have come up before, a thank you to both Lisa Holmes and Dr. Ken Clark for their service on this committee. As unsurprisingly per previous announcements, this was their last WDIC meeting, and we thank them and we'll miss them.
Questions or comments for Veronica? Thank you. Next up, Public Safety Committee, Rich John, Chair.
Thank you, Dan. The Public Safety Committee met on December 10th, and as I indicated in privilege of the floor, we had a presentation from our sheriff together with the DA regarding their response to the matter that's been going on for quite a while out in the town of Caroline. The sheriff put up 3 slides showing all the different calls received and the nature of the call and then the response to it. And we had a good discussion on that issue. We also had a discussion regarding the proposed policy from the Probation and Community Justice Department regarding having some probation officers be armed for some activities. And that discussion proceeded at committee. In parallel, there is a meeting scheduled for this Thursday, the 19th at URO on State Street to provide for community input on the proposed policy. So I anticipate that the Public Safety Committee will vote at its January meeting on this issue, to get, depending on input received, but that looks like the pathway. I'd also mention our jail numbers of 62 in our jail with 2 board outs and 1 boarded in. We will be meeting again January 28th at 1 o'clock.
Questions or comments for Rich? Okay, thank you. Next up, Downtown Facilities Special Committee, Randy Brown, Chair.
Thank you, Dan. We've actually had 2 meetings since our last legislature meeting. At the last meeting, the first meeting last Tuesday, we discussed contract negotiations and a review of the timeline for the construction of the Center Grove building. And from that, we approved a resolution today for our second special meeting of the Downtown Facility Special Committee. And I have a resolution to bring forward.
Please go ahead.
I have a resolution. It's resolution to authorize contract with Holt Architects on Center of Government project, ID 12979.
Have a second on that, please. Ann, and this is in your red folders.
Correct.
Any further discussion? Anything more you want to say on that, Randy?
I do. We looked at the, on this particular resolution, we went through a long process. Lisa talked about it at our meeting at 2:30 today, where we evaluated many architects and engineers. The phase went through 6 initial companies that we felt were qualified. And then there was a large group assembled for legislatures and I think 8 to 10 staff that reviewed and scored all these proposals for the work. And after that, it was unanimous that we chose Holt. They stood out. It was a close race in a couple areas, but when you factored in everything, Holt was definitely the winner of that. And we also looked at the timeline, which should not change from what it had been previously. So.
Okay, any further discussion on Resolution S in your red packets, red folders? Okay, ready for a vote then? All in favor? Opposed? One opposed. Motion carries.
Let Dave McKinnon know how far we've gotten.
I told him we were voting on it.
Anything further for or from the Downtown Facilities Special Committee?
I would like to add one thing on the contract. The contract was negotiated over a few months, and it's a menu type contract where we're going to go through various steps. And if we get to a particular step that we say, okay, for example, one of the first steps is to figure out if we're going to be able to clear the requirements of the State Historic Preservation Office. Anytime during this contract, if we say, well, that's going to be too expensive to move forward, or we're not going to take the next step, we can stop the contract, and that would be the end of our obligation for payment.
Mike Lane.
Randy, I just thought it would be important to mention also that the timeline that was put forward for the construction, the ultimate is that occupancy would be in 2029.
Okay, anything else? Downtown Facilities Special Committee. All right. Next up, Health and Human Services Committee, Shauna Black, Chair.
Thank you. I have a few resolutions. Let's see here. I'll move those first. Resolution T, budget adjustment, Department of Social Services, Family-Centered Case Management Services, Temporary Assistance for Needy Families, TANF, Grant Acceptance, Authorization to hire appropriate staff, and that did go through the Budget Committee as well. I would move that, please.
Can I get a second? Susan seconds. Discussion. No further discussion? Okay, let's ready for a vote then. All in favor? Any opposed? That carries unanimously.
And the second resolution is Resolution U, creation of positions, Family-Centered Case Management Services, Department of Social Services. This also went through budget. ID 12968. I so move.
Randy seconds. Discussion. Ready for a vote then? All in favor? Any opposed? That is unanimous.
And if I could go ahead and move the individual member filed resolution. And this did actually go through our Health and Human Services Committee meeting. However, it was too late. It passed too late in order to be on our agenda. So I also did make a few changes to the resolution that's in your red folder. I consulted with Jessica and Frank from from Whole Health, and they added some whereases to the resolution to make it stronger. My motivation for writing the resolution was that I ran into one of our early intervention providers at the high school parking lot, and she had concerns that she has not been paid as a provider in 10 weeks from the state. And she said that the Health Early Intervention Hub that the state rolled out is an absolute disaster. Every time providers are going in and putting in information, they're getting error messages. They go in the next day, the cases that they're putting in are not there, and it's really causing some issues with them getting reimbursed. And so I did research it a little bit, and then I decided to write the resolution, and just wanted to bring it forward. I also did speak with Anna Kellis's office and Leah Webb to let them know that this was hopefully going to be coming forward to them, and they are also working on this.
Further discussion? Ann?
Yeah, I saw this a few weeks back on the Syracuse News, and I can't remember exactly, but I know Onondaga County was doing something, but maybe our state reps already know, but they said it was a pretty widespread issue that many providers they were interviewing were, like you said, 8 to 12 weeks delayed in getting their payments, or they couldn't figure out the system. And so those providers that they interviewed were talking about that they were going to have to, consider stopping providing services and to try and recruit fill new positions. With this going on, is just not existent, that they cannot fill positions. So it's really a crisis. So thank you for bringing this up, Shauna.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, I forgot to ask for a second. Is there a second for this? Ann, seconds, thanks. Further discussion. Rich?
Yeah, I was going to ask, I thought we'd received an email about this from a constituent, and I found it. So, yes.
Yeah,
it was on this subject.
The other part is that Frank said that one response that the state has had is to remove the top 4 errors that providers are getting. And so if it's a certain billing error, then the state has removed all of them and are essentially pushing through every single claim now. And so I guess that's one remedy to at least ensure that our providers are getting paid. But there's definitely some more work that needs to be done, and providers are really, really, really upset with this. And then Frank actually added a whereas that that notes that counties are still owed $5 million from fiscal year 2022 and $5 million from fiscal year 2023, and have not been paid to date for any funding owed for 2024 services from one of the funds. And so, obviously these are some serious issues happening at the state, but it's kind of rolling downhill. So it does affect our providers as well.
Any other discussion? So this is the resolution. It's in the red packet. The changes that you said are already incorporated into this version. Okay, so we're ready to vote then? All in favor? Any opposed? That is unanimous. Thank you. Anything else from your committee, Shauna?
That is it. Let's see here. No, that actually is not it. We're going to talk about priorities for next month. This year, we really focused on, we tried to focus on mental health, substance use disorder, and sheltering. And next year, it makes sense that we would have more coordination with HED, because it seems like the two committees are really going hand in hand with some of the issues that we're seeing. And then we also did get an update from the library and the Narcan machine that they put up in the library. They used the funds that were awarded through the opioid settlement funds. And I think that's it.
Okay, any questions or comments for Health and Human Services Committee? Randy?
I forgot to mention, I'm actually meeting with Leslie at the library at 10 a.m. on Thursday, if anybody for a tour and discussions, if anybody wants to join me.
Great.
Thank you. Okay. So I just learned, Housing and Economic Development Committee is up next. Greg Mezzi, chair, who's not here. Travis, you were the vice chair, I believe. we can come back to this committee report later if you need a second.
Well, there's
to-
also a resolution. I just want to make sure that's going to go through there too.
And that's the other thing. Resolution J is now going under HED.
Right, that's why I pulled it from
Thank you.
the consent agenda.
So, Travis, you want me to go to another committee first and come? Yeah, very good. Let's go to Facilities and Infrastructure Committee, Lee Shurtleff, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Facilities and Infrastructure Committee met yesterday morning at 9 a.m., and it was a crisp meeting with some end-of-year resolutions, and I'll bring two of them forward. Resolution number V, budget adjustment, Highway Department, return excess first instance county funding to defund balance. And this was also addressed at Budget and Capital. ID number 12884.
Randy seconds.
This dates back to 2017, and funding has been received from the DEC, I believe, who had agreed to share in a project.
2017.
This returns funds to defund. Yes, thank you.
Any further discussion? Resolution V. Okay, let's have a vote then. All in favor? Any opposed? That motion is unanimous.
Resolution W, budget adjustment, Highway Department, American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA funding for highway machinery. Again, addressed at Budget and Capital as well. ID number 12967.
Is there a second? Susan seconds.
And this continues expenditures of funds that were committed in 2022 and 2023 or set aside from the ARPA funding. Several pieces of equipment have been purchased. The two remaining ones, more or less on a back order, will move forward with a combination of funds from the Highway Department.
Any other discussion? Okay, let's have a vote then. All in favor? Any opposed? That is unanimous. Lee, anything else?
Nothing else tonight.
Anything else? Any other questions or comments for Lee? Okay, let's go on to the Government Operations Committee then. Amanda Champion, Chair.
Great, thank you. Let's see. We met on December 5th. I think that was between the last legislature meeting and this one. It was the first time in a couple of years that we went over time. We were 9 minutes over. I know, it was shocking. I'm usually pretty much on time, but there was a lot of talking at that meeting, Rich. So,
not blaming anybody.
Not blaming anybody, Rich.
Yeah.
We had a lot of resolutions, some of which are on tonight, several of which will be at our next meeting as we go into the new year. One thing that was a big topic of conversation was from our Department of Assessment, and those of you who were there can help me remember, but Jay Franklin came and had a request to pause our annual equity maintenance assessment program, which kind of caught some of us by surprise, and we talked about that for quite a while. And I think what we ended up doing was amending, not to pause it for 3 years, but for 1 year. Was that correct? Am I correct? Yeah, okay. So that, I think, will be coming to the legislature next month, and, you know, is definitely worth some more thought and consideration by this whole body. Let's see. We did move our next GO meeting to January 6th at 10 a.m., which is a Monday, not to have it right at the beginning of the year. We also had our end of the year legislator travel and training report, and we agreed that at our meeting, our January meeting, we're going to talk about that process because we have significantly less funds in 2025 than we have had in the past, so we need to think about how we're going to allocate that. We talked about that here at our budget meetings. So that is going to be a high priority on that agenda because folks need to be deciding if you would like to attend the NISAC conference and other conferences. I think that is most of it, and then I have several resolutions.
Okay, any questions or comments on the Government Operations Committee report? Okay, why don't you go ahead with the resolutions, please?
All right, Resolution X, returned village taxes, ID 12927.
Is there a second? Mike Lane seconds. Any discussion? Let's have a vote then. All in favor? Any opposed? That is unanimous.
All right, we have Resolution Y, returned school taxes, ID 12926.
Is there a second? Veronica seconds. Discussion. Randy.
What does that mean?
Both this one and the previous one are yearly resolutions that we do if the various villages and school municipalities aren't, we make them whole for any taxes that they are not receiving. And I'm going to look at people to make sure I'm saying that the right way. We make them whole, and then if somebody has not paid their taxes, that becomes our problem, and thus might go into the foreclosure system, et cetera. Is that correct?
Maybe it's a question for Lori. Is that dollar amount increasing compared to prior years or about the same? Or you don't have to answer that right now. But
yeah, that's a good question. I'll look into that.
Okay. All right, thanks.
Okay, still on Resolution Y. Any further discussion?
I would just add, I believe this is because the schools do not have foreclosure power.
Right.
Yeah.
And neither do the villages.
Resolution Y. Any last discussion? Let's have a vote then. All in favor? Any opposed? That is unanimous.
All right, Resolution Z, adoption of apportionment of taxes for 2025, ID 12922.
Is there a second? Susan seconds. Any discussion? Let's have a vote. All in favor? Any opposed? That is unanimous.
All right, I have one other one that was pulled off, Resolution H, approval of amended bylaws, Tompkins County Public Library Board of Trustees, ID 12937.
Is there a second? Veronica seconds.
And I'll just say, the edit that we made in committee, I guess, did not get into the final draft. I'm not even seeing it, but there's been a lot of discussion over the years about designating the number of trustees on that board, and we agreed that 15 was the good number. This is also based on information that we've gotten from the board and through Rich as the liaison, and choosing one number versus a range of numbers allows these bylaws to fit within our county policy as we have newly amended it last year.
Okay, thank you. And this resolution's in your red folder.
Yes.
Deborah.
Just a quick question. When we designate the number of board members, if they have fewer, they can still do business. They just move forward with, yeah.
Yeah, and they ideally would be seeking more members during that time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
They still need to maintain quorum.
Rich.
Yeah, I pulled it off consent agenda because I went to the library board meeting at 4 o'clock instead of coming here for the end of your party. And They were a bit surprised because they had sent it over with, I believe, 10 as the number. And we changed it to, well, they sent it with the range, but they were supposed to say 10.
Okay.
So they said 15. And they were surprised that we on GO had done that. And in fact, I got a call at the beginning of our meeting, and they continued to meet over there, and they said, would it be possible for us to say 12 for 2025, and they'd go to 15 in 2026, as they really have concerns whether they can fill enough that they wouldn't have a quorum problem. Because if you set it to 15, you got to get at least 8 to every meeting, and they're short right now.
So are you proposing an amendment?
I would propose an amendment, which would be 12 in 2025 and 15 in 2026.
Is that Katrina?
Can I suggest that we do 12 and then in a year we
Amend
go
it
ahead
again.
and amend the
I think that would be
bylaws?
fine. Yeah, we just need to remember to do it next year.
I'll go ahead and note it on my calendar, but I would recommend we just do 12 for now.
Okay, so we have a motion to amend it to 12. Is there a second on that? Deborah seconds it. Discussion on the amendment. Susan.
I'll just say from experience, the library typically always had 15 members, but there were at times fewer than that. And we did have, the bylaws used to have an explanation of how to handle quorum if they had fewer than 15. So, but I'm okay with 12. That's okay.
Certainly if, sorry.
Go ahead.
If they are able to fill 12 quickly, we could always come back and expand it during the year. So I think it would be healthy for them to get to 15 if that was our conversation at GO. So,
Amanda.
Yeah, that's fine. I think 15 is probably a more healthy number in general. And I think we would have talked about that in GO, but I don't remember them like that. It had said 10. It was still a range when it came to GO. So anyway, but 12 is fine. And yeah, if we can amend bylaws whenever, so I think that's great. Thanks, Katrina.
Susan.
I just wanted to add that one of the reasons for 15 is that it is a county library, so hopefully you will have trustees from all areas of the county. So it may seem like a higher number than usual, but the goal was to have representation from everywhere.
Any further discussion?
Our charter defines quorum as shall mean a majority of the total number of duly constituted body, as if there were no vacancies and no persons disqualified from voting. So I just wanted to make sure that we had that.
And that is supposed to be in all bylaws now. That's part of our new policy, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Further discussion. Are we ready to vote on resolution, is it 8H? Yes. So, yes, thank you.
The amendment?
We're on the amendment. Let's change it to 12. Further discussion on the amendment? Okay. All in favor of the amendment, changing it to 12? Any opposed? Passes. Now we're on the main motion. Any further discussion on the main motion? Resolution H. Okay, let's vote on that. All in favor? Any opposed? That is also unanimous. Thank you. Amanda, any wrap-ups from your committee? Anything else?
Happy holidays.
Okay. So we're at 7:30. Shall we sprint for the end? Yes. I'm seeing a lot of
We
yes.
don't have executive session.
We do not have executive session tonight. So, okay. Next up is Planning, Energy, and Environmental Quality Committee, Ann Corman, Chair.
Thank you. We met on Monday, December 9th, and a lot of the resolutions have already gone through tonight, including the natural infrastructure resolution, so I appreciate everyone's help with that. One of the highlights, I would say, would be the presentation we had regarding funds for farms and food access from the Tompkins Food Future Program. And so some of the work, all of the work they're doing has evolved over time. And so as they're seeing the need and seeing how they can help folks, So some of the important work that they're doing now is to help hook up farmers with grants that they might be able to apply to. And one of the things I thought was really interesting was that it could take 20 to 40 hours to fill out an application. And so if you imagine, say, a farmer, that's quite a lot of time. And so one of the big things that they're helping them do, really important, is figuring out which things they can apply for, because they have a lot of years of experience with different people that they have associated with the program. So they can say, here's this one, that you're going to be able to apply for, or it might be more relevant. And then some guidance in helping fill them out. They're also helping farmers and food banks work together, because what people have been telling us, and especially the food banks, is that they want more fresh food. So if we can have farms and food banks work together, then they can get more fresh food to people who really really deserve to have real food rather than boxed or canned food. So that I thought was a really great kind of pivot in their program. And I think that was mostly it. We also just started talking about goals, so we'll talk about that for next year, or in January too. So we just had just a brainstorming, so if folks could think about that, or if other folks from other committees think of things they would like us to think about as far as goals for next year. We had an executive session regarding contract negotiations at the end too. And the next meeting is January 13th, 2025. I'll ask my vice chair, did I miss anything? Okay. And that's my report.
Thank you. Questions or comments for Ann? Okay, thank you. Let's go back to the Housing and Economic Development Committee. Travis Brooks, Vice Chair.
We had a relatively short meeting. Rich wasn't there, so there wasn't a lot to talk about.
Rich day.
Wait, order.
We had a few end-of-the-year wrap-up reports. We'll meet again in first week of January. And I guess there's a resolution we got to talk about. You said Resolution J?
Resolution J is landed in your lap.
Doc ID 12924, approval of amended bylaws, Strategic Tourism and Planning Board.
Seconds. So this had gotten assigned to the wrong committee accidentally, and then surprise, surprise, there it is, back in you. Discussion, Resolution J. Okay, then are we ready to vote? All in favor? Any opposed? That is unanimous. Travis, anything else from your committee?
No, sir.
Any questions or comments? All right, thank you. Back to the Community Recovery Fund Advisory Committee. No actual report except to say that we are just tying up all the little loose ends that have to be tied up by the end of this year. The program's not over, but there is that ARPA deadline coming up. And I just want to thank all the finance staff who are keeping track of every dollar. We saw it earlier in the facilities resolution to use the ARPA money, and we for the Community Recovery Fund. We are using every last dollar, or just about. And I know there's been some general concerns about incoming presidential administration trying to claw back some monies that weren't allocated yet. That will not apply to us. We have taken care of every dollar, so at least in this particular instance. Any questions or comments? Veronica.
Is this committee going to meet again ever?
Yes, this committee will meet again infrequently, probably, because there are still a number of contracts that are out, I think for 2 more years actually. So they're diminishing though. There's fewer and fewer decisions to make. All right. We're moving now to the Budget, Capital, and Personnel Committee. Mike Lane, Chair.
Yes, we did meet on December 12th. The nice thing about Budget Committee this time of year is things slow down a tad, although we never stop doing budget in this county. And if you don't believe that, we approved no fewer than 10 sets of minutes at this meeting we had. We talked a little bit about moving forward at the direction of our finance director regarding the issues that we continue to have about trying to understand better fund balance and some of the activities she's been having with the departments to help get more information that's going to help her department. And we appreciated that. Also, we had a short report from Deborah Dawson about the team meeting regarding the direct report for the Director of Finance. You folks know you are all on teams for our direct reports, and we're trying to a process that's been recommended to us by our Human Resources Department, which will be looking at the different direct reports, the 4 of them, probably 4 times a year. We will have the first meeting regarding the first team meeting for the county administrator in January, and I think there's a new date for that. One other thing, Lisa Holmes has been very ably representing us on the Municipal Healthcare Consortium, and she will be stepping down, as we all know, at the end of the year. That leaves a vacancy, and Chair Klein has asked us to look for a replacement. If anyone is interested in serving on the Municipal Healthcare Consortium, please let us know. We've developed a short list. We have a couple of names, but that doesn't mean that you can't do it as well. It should be someone who's willing to spend a little time at it. I'm sure Lisa would be more than happy to talk to you about the time commitment that she's had serving on, I believe, the executive committee. Is that correct? And a lot of the work is done in that executive committee. So if you have an interest, please shoot me an email, say within the next few days. Other than that, we have a couple of resolutions.
Deborah. Yeah, Mike, let's clarify. If this person would be replacing Lisa, will they also be on the executive committee?
I can't answer that.
Yes, that's my understanding from Elin, the executive director.
Yeah, thank you, because I think it's important that people understand they're signing up for more than just showing up for a board meeting.
Well, I hope none of our situations that we're just showing up for board meetings.
Well, executive committees generally require a little more work than board seats.
I understand. Good point. Any other questions? Can I move resolution AA? You know, we're doing a lot of work when we get down to double vowels for our designation of our resolutions. AA, changes in positions. Now, I'm moving the one that's in your folders. This has been revised even since the committee passed it to add, I believe, another 1 or 2 positions into the various departments that are involved. So again, it's changes in positions, various departments, pending budget, and we did move that. It's ID 12954. If you have questions about that, I'm going to refer you to our administrator.
Is there a second? Veronica seconds. Okay, and the changes are highlighted in yellow in the red packet, is that correct?
And the addition that was made following the Budget, Capital, and Personnel Committee meeting last Thursday is the addition of a position on page 3, the data officer for the indigent legal services under assigned counsel.
Okay. Any discussion on resolution AA?
This is an annual thing that we do.
Okay, let's go ahead and have a vote then. All in favor? Any opposed? That is unanimous.
And resolution BB, authorizing 2025 payments for Tompkins Cortland Community College operating budget. It's ID 12839, and I so move.
Is there a second? Susan, seconds. Discussion. Let's have a vote then. All in favor? Any opposed? That is unanimous.
Shauna, did we miss anything?
I don't think so.
All right.
That's good.
Thank you.
Okay,
I have a question.
please, go ahead, Randy.
I just want to thank Deborah for the write-up that you provided. I read the whole write-up about your discussion with Lori. I'd like to say regarding OpenGov that I only looked at the payroll expense. I didn't look at anything else because once I looked at it, I realized there was no way you could reconcile all those things. But one thing that I think that we should be considering as a change is the way that revenue is recognized. And I know, Lori, this is a concern of yours as well. We heard that today, where all of a sudden we got some money from 2017. We also heard that there was money from Whole Health from 2022, 5 million, I think they said, 23, 5 million. So I think we should be looking at our revenue much closer and more often. So I would propose that we start thinking about requiring our departments to report quarterly their revenue, what their projections were, what's outstanding, and reviewing it more closely, because if you don't understand your revenue, you can't even consider your expenses. So I think we should ask our departments to share with us what they've billed, what they think's coming in, are they going to get that grant that they thought they're going to get? And I think also with DSS, there's a lot of lag, it could be a year or more, a lag of money payments, and it'd be also be know, are the billings, are they current? So I just wanted to share that.
Yeah. Anything else for the Budget Committee? All right. We've already done Resolution CC. We've already done the individual member filed resolution. So we are up to the minutes of the previous meeting. So somebody would move the minutes from December 3rd, please. Ann moves, Travis seconds. Any discussion? Let's have a vote then. All in favor? Any opposed? That is unanimous. The motion carries. Is there any unfinished business? I have a quick piece of unfinished business. This is the last legislature meeting of 2024. I just wanted to thank, it's not even all, but most of the people, or some of the people who, help make these meetings happen. So first, the clerks of the legislature, Katrina McCloy, Jordan Cree, Brittany Greep, Taylor Spencer. I want to thank Rob Henry, our media production assistant up in the booth. Our deputy county administrators, Bridget Nugent and Norma Jane. And our county administrator, Lisa Holmes, who we've already talked about as our last meeting, but what we didn't say is it's also her birthday. So happy birthday, Lisa.
Speech.
Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday, dear Lisa. Happy birthday to you.
Lisa, any last words for us?
Last words.
I can't top that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. Have good holidays, good New Year. See you in 2025.